Welcome into episode 2 of the Brierchat podcast, our weekly podcast here at America's Resort, the Greenbrier. I'm Cam Huffman, Director of Public Relations here at the Greenbrier, and it's my pleasure to be back with you again this week. We had a great response to our first podcast. Episode 1 was on Frank Mosley, our legendary greeter, and the impact he had here at the Greenbrier. He passed away recently, and he leaves a lasting legacy, and the feedback we got from that episode 1 was tremendous. So we really appreciate everyone who found it on YouTube or on Facebook, all the comments that people made on Facebook remembering their Frank Mosley memories, and the feedback we got was just much appreciated. So it's off to a fantastic start to the Brierchat podcast, and we know that episode 2 is going to be just as good. I'm joined today by Alyssa Erskine, as she got married within the last year. Alyssa worked in our department for a long time, so she was always Alyssa Hill to me, but we're thrilled that her and her husband, Madison, who actually works here at the Greenbrier as well, are now officially married. So I got to remember that last name, Alyssa Erskine. But Alyssa, before we jump into our topic of this week, just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, how you ended up here at the Greenbrier, and where you're from.
Perfect. So like you said, my name is Alyssa Erskine. I'm originally from Fayetteville, West Virginia. I moved to Lewisburg about 5 or 6 years ago and then started my journey here at the Greenbrier. I worked at the military tribute at the Greenbrier for the golf tournament, and then made my way over to marketing with Cam, and while I was in marketing, I fell in love with working with Dr. Bob and working with the archives. So a part of my job now is that I get to do all the archiving and digitally archiving all of our history records. So I get to tinker in that a bit.
As Alyssa mentioned, she's has worked closely with our guests that you met last week. If you tuned into episode 1, Bob Conte, our historian emeritus here at the Greenbrier, has done a fantastic job. And when Dr. Bob officially retired, Alyssa kind of picked up the reins, and she's done a great job learning this history and passing it along as well. And so that's why we asked her to join us today, because we're going to take a little look back in our history and look at something important to us here at the Greenbrier. As you may have judged by the decor behind us, we're here. May is officially upon us now, and the first weekend of May, as most know, means the Kentucky Derby. And there's always a connection to the Kentucky Derby here at America's Resort, and that starts with the horses themselves, as horses have a long history here at the Greenbrier.
They really do. I mean, you date back to that was the only way of traveling here for the longest time, was by stagecoach and horses. And then you were traveling by either horse or by train. And then, of course, it's just a daily activity. I mean, it goes back to if you're golfing at the clubhouse now, originally that was the horse stables. It burnt down in 1916. And then it was moved into its location that it's at now. And then if you look at the riding circle that you get onto the equestrian center, it was built in 1931. So we had at the beginning of our time, we had about 200 miles worth of riding trails that were available for our guests. So it definitely is a long-standing history.
And that history continues today as equestrian pursuits, whether it be carriage rides, horseback riding, whatever it is, still continue to be one of the popular outdoor activities here at the Greenbrier.
Very, very popular.
But the horses are kind of a secondary thing that we're going to talk about today. The main topic of today's podcast is the mint julep, a popular drink here at the Greenbrier, and a popular drink at the Kentucky Derby, as we mentioned, that is this weekend. If you don't know about the mint julep, you really haven't been paying attention to the Kentucky Derby. I saw a stat today that 120,000 mint juleps are served over Kentucky Derby weekend. That's with the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks over 2 days. So they are incredibly popular there at the Derby. And so for that reason, most people think, oh, it must have started right here at Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Derby. But we have reason to believe, Alyssa, that that's not the case. That in fact, the mint julep may have started right here at the Greenbrier.
Right. So we actually have accounting records dating back to 1860 that shows us serving guests juleps, and they were 25 cents a piece, or you can have 3 drinks for 50 cents. And I would even say that it would date back to the opening of our first tavern, which was in 1808. And then, of course, by the popularity, it started growing, and actually was in our souvenir calendar in 1914. So, I mean, it dates back for a very long time with the mint juleps in the Greenbrier.
Well, we're here today at 12 Oaks inside the Casino Club at the Greenbrier. So I'm going to go up to the bar in just a minute and see if I can get one of those 25-cent juleps or 3 for 50 cents. You think the prices are the same?
I think it's going to be a little more expensive now.
It's changed slightly over the years. As you mentioned, the popularity of that drink continued to grow. It was on the calendar in 1914, and I know inside one of our legendary clubs here, they even had a special piece of drinkware that they served that mint julep in.
Right, so that started in the Old White Lounge, and so that was a cup that they served every mint julep with, and so in that you can still see it, sort of the same kind of cup that you have when you're getting it here at the Greenbrier as well.
Yeah, and I will mention too, those cups, you can actually buy them on the Greenbrier's retail site. If you're interested in getting your own mint julep cup with the Greenbrier logo to remember right where it started, you can tell your friends in Kentucky, no, it started right here at the Greenbrier, and show them your cup. Those are available on our resale site, so we encourage people to go check them out as well. But as you said, they were served there, then at the Old White Mouse. Now they're served really at all the bars throughout the property, including here in 12 Oaks, the lobby bar over in the upper lobby, all throughout the Greenbrier you can find that mint julep, and it really is a popular drink today.
It really is, and one of the biggest places that you can see it is at the Concours d'Elegance weekend with a charitable dinner.
Yeah, coming up this weekend, our annual Concours d'Elegance. It's the 6th year of it this weekend, and the Cars and Cocktail event, which is one of several events throughout the weekend, is Saturday from 10 to 2 down at the golf club, the Spring House tennis courts, that area around there. Cars from all different disciplines will be down there. And the cocktails part of it is that we have some of our friends, some different vendors from right here in town, Big Draft Brewing. We have them here. We have Old Smoky Moonshine, and we have Smooth Ambler, our local bourbon here as well. And they'll be serving some of those mint juleps on Saturday at the Cars and Cocktail event. I think they have a special cup as well. You can come check it out.
Right. And you might not be having horses, but you'll have horsepower out there.
For sure. And then later that night, another chance to just have the mint julep and check out the Kentucky Derby with the charitable dinner as part of the Concours d'Elegance as well.
Yeah, so when you, if you come in and attend at the charitable dinner, there is an hour, cocktail hour. So you'll get to enjoy the Kentucky Derby while it's playing and sip your own mint julep. A couple years ago, I think we learned from that, but we actually ran out of the cups pretty quickly because everybody was really enjoying those mint juleps. And we keep them on deck now.
Yeah, I know we have plenty ordered for this weekend for the Concours d'Elegance, the charitable dinner. That supports a number of different charities that we support with the Concours, the AACA Library and Research Center, the First Responders Children's Foundation, and the West Virginia Autism Training Center. So if you have a chance, there's still a few tickets left that they can go online, greenbrierconcours.com, get your ticket, come to the cocktail hour, watch the Kentucky Derby, have a mint julep, and then stay for a wonderful meal and an auction from the kitchens of the Greenbrier.
Right. And, you know, as a gift for owners, since we had learned that they loved the mint julep so much that we gave all of our Concours owners the year after their own mint julep cups. So I wonder if they'll be bringing those in.
I hope they will. And those were complete with the recipe of how we make our mint julep here, which we'll talk about in just a minute with one of our bartenders. So we invite you to stay tuned for that. But Alyssa, you've provided some great insight on the mint julep here and what it means to the Greenbrier. We appreciate you greatly being here. We encourage people to come out and see most of us as we're part of that Concours team this weekend. So hope you can come and join us for that. And that's going to wrap it up with Alyssa. When we come back, we're going to learn from bartender Mike Avalos just how to make that Greenbrier mint julep and what goes into it. Okay, so we learned some of the history of the mint julep here at the Greenbrier. Now it's time to learn how to make one. But before we get into that, let's meet our bartender. We have Mike Avalos with us today. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you ended up at Greenbrier.
I've been here almost 19 years now. I've been behind the bar for almost going on 5. It's a really good place. I like it. Have fun with it.
Where are you from originally?
Actually, here local. I live in Lewisburg now.
Nice. Okay. All right. So how many mint juleps do you think you've served over the years?
A few thousand.
A few thousand. All right. Show us how to make it. Let's start the first step. We've got our cup here, the legendary kind of silver cup. Why the silver cup?
Silver cup. These will actually keep the drink a good bit colder. So the first step is actually going to put the mint into the cup. Then at that point, what we're going to do is grab some simple syrup. Just put a little bit of simple into it. That helps kind of sweeten it up a little bit. And then after that, we get the muddling.
All right. So what is muddling? What are we looking for when we're doing this?
So when you're muddling a drink, what you want to do, you don't want to pulverize it. So what you want to do is kind of squish it up a little bit. That way it'll help bring out the flavor.
Okay. And what's the tool you use there?
It's called a muddler.
Okay.
Just something that's all it is. Okay. Like I said, you don't want to pulverize, just want to do it just a couple times. Just get everything good and kind of softened up a little bit.
Okay. And what's our next step?
Next step, we put the bourbon into it. So for the bourbon, we're going to use something local. The Smooth Ambler, this is the Old Scout. This is actually our private label select. The program that we have set up with them.
Okay. So you can use pretty much whatever bourbon you want, but we
typically we do use Woodford, the Peace and Justice, which is another private label select that we have with them.
Okay. So when you're getting the the mint julep here at the Greenbrier, you're getting a Greenbrier Select label, whether it is Smooth Ambler or Woodford. Okay. And it's Smooth Ambler right down the road in Frankfort. So it's always good to make it authentically local here and use the local products. So.
Really good too. So, all right. So we put a little bit of bourbon in here. Okay.
All right. What's next?
So the next step, you want to put the crushed ice into it.
Okay. Why crushed ice?
So the original story for the crushed ice is back in the day when these things first started. Of course, they didn't have the fancy cooler systems or anything like that. So they would collect the like hail from the like storms.
Okay.
And collect those and keep them and use those as the ice for the drink itself.
Perfectly. And I know that you fill it pretty full of ice. That keeps it nice and cold, right?
Exactly. And that's what another key aspect of the cup too, because it will help keep the drink really cold.
Okay. Let's throw the ice in there.
So
now we've got our ice. It's filled to the brim. What's next?
next is we use the garnish. And for that, we use just a mint sprig. All right. So we just place that on through the side of it right there. And last little step is going to be the powdered sugar. All right. So just sprinkle that on there.
So it's an interesting combination with the mint and the powdered sugar, but people seem to love it, don't they?
Oh, it's excellent. People love this one.
And while we're sitting here looking at this drink, it's a finished product. It looks beautiful. Right beside it, we've got our Woodford, our bronze cup, a little different than the silver cup, but that's something special that we do each year for the Kentucky Derby to kind of commemorate it. So if folks come to the Greenbrier this weekend for the Kentucky Derby, they can get their bronze Woodford Reserve Cup and enjoy the mint julep right here where it all began. Well,
Yes,
Mike,
sir.
we really greatly appreciate you showing us how to do that. Drink looks wonderful. We're thrilled that you could come join us today. We appreciate everyone watching. We invite you to come to the Greenbrier, whether it's this weekend for the Kentucky Derby or any weekend throughout the year, and try the mint julep for yourself. We appreciate you watching the Brierchat podcast. Once again, we invite you to tune in. It'll be published every Monday. It'll be on Facebook and YouTube, anywhere you find your podcast. So we appreciate you watching. We hope you'll give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know maybe what topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. But that's going to do it for this week on the Brierchat. I'm Cam Huffman for Alyssa Erskine and Mike Avalos. Thanks to Jacob McCutcheon behind the camera. We appreciate you joining us. See you at America's Resort.